Hello and welcome to Super OK, where we try to do a decent enough job to entertain people with our opinions on video games. My name is Dale and I'll be your host today, but I am joined here by some absolutely amazing living star bits. First off, we got Brody. Brody, how's being a celestial being?
I mean, I think it's great. I do love the kind of floating around in nothingness part. That is nice. It's like taking a big nothing bath. I did not think that that's where it was going to go, but I agree with you wholeheartedly. And if I eat enough other star bits, I can explode into a galaxy.
That's true too. There was this bit speaking about a big nothing bath on John Oliver a little while ago about how nice it would be to just float in an egg.
What?
It sounds weird, but then when you think about it, you're like, no, that sounds great. It sounds absolutely amazing. Just
until somebody cracks it.
No, man, don't ever crack the egg.
No.
That other voice who's talking about cracking eggs over there is Mel. Mel, how are you doing, you celestial being you?
Hi, I'm doing good. And I kind of wish that when we were talking about celestial beings, that I was like a Katamari, like doodad guy that like pushes everything around and collects all the stars.
Oh, one of the cousins?
The cousins, yeah, with the weird heads.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I used to have a shirt with all the cousins on it. They're great.
Love it.
And then last, but certainly not least, we have a special guest on today's episode. They're an expert in the field because they have been there before. And that person is Aaron, a.k.a. Ender Wolf, a.k.a. Ender Render, a.k.a. Render Wolf, a.k.a. You've seen him in the Discord. He's a great human. Aaron, thanks so much for being here. How's Celestial working out for you?
It's good. You know, the stars kind of burn the eyes. Got some, but I got the SPF 40, so
I love it. I love
it. Gotta
Still gonna get a little bit of a tan.
Let's keep that skin safe. It's really insane that the thing that gives all life to Earth is also a thing that will kill you if you hang out with it too much.
Hey, if I've learned one thing from Baz Luhrmann, it's wear sunscreen.
True.
Good call.
Good Baz Luhrmann reference. All right, so every week on Super OK, we do a highlight of our week. It's the thing that made our week a little bit better. We always like to let our guests go first. So, Aaron, what made your week a little better?
So yesterday, as of record, I had my third game of D&D with the same group for the first time in 8 years, I think.
Nice.
Have had one or two games here or there, but I feel like if you've played D&D, if you've ever tried to make that happen, like 3 or 4 games, that's when it's actually real. It's actually happening. Mm-hmm. You're going to keep going. You're going to maybe not see it through to the end, but you're going to keep going with it. As with podcasting, the real big bad evil guy of D&D is trying to negotiate the schedules of 4 or 5 adults who have jobs and kids and all of those things. So it's I think I had kind of forgotten just how much fun it is to play cops and robbers with your friends. Mm-hmm. And to throw little rocks around and make silly jokes, and then at a certain point you quit making jokes because you're very focused on what you're doing and you're taking it oh so seriously. And that's the best feeling, is taking something so dumb so seriously.
Yep.
It feels good.
It very much is. Are you a player in this? Are you the dungeon master? Like, what's your role?
I'm a player. I'm a barbarian, which is great for me. I'm usually the cleric, so I'm usually the carry the team. But my back's starting to hurt, so I figured I'll just go with the dumb guy whose answer to everything is I attack, and then I can let everyone else do the hard thinking and solving puzzles. I'll just take care of all the monsters, and then we're golden.
Yeah,
nice.
The barbarian is the epitome of the old saying of if all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Absolutely.
But I love it. I love
We've
it because
encountered So many nails.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. That is amazing. I miss playing D&D so dearly to the point where I have been designing a campaign that I will be launching probably once my housework is done. But I'm going to go next with my highlight of the week because I'm very excited about this. It's Record Store Day today. Pulling back the curtain of when we're recording on a Saturday. And it's Record Store Day. And for those of you who aren't aware, today is like a holiday when it comes to record collecting. There are a whole bunch of different like specific exclusives that companies make for Record Store Day. People line up. Like we were in a bunch of different lines today. And Zando, ultimate friend of the pod, and Johnny Always from Discord, we all got together with Zando's kid and we went to a bunch of different record stores in search of the Holy Grail album, Macho Man Randy Savage's rap album that was printed on purple vinyl.
That's amazing. That is so amazing.
I'm sorry, I can't be here the rest of the show. I have to spend the rest of my life looking into that thing.
Yeah, right. The problem is they made like somewhere around 1,000 of them. And so every store that we went to only got 1 or 0, but that didn't stop us from going to like 5 stores. So I got a whole bunch of other cool shit, and I'm just going to run through it really quick. I got the Ramones album on like an exclusive yellow vinyl.
Nice.
I got the Mountain Goats Dark in here. I got this album that I didn't know existed, which is Weird Al on an album called Osaka Popstar, which is him doing covers of Ramon songs.
Oh my God.
Live, which is like not parodies, covers.
That's
like legit Beat on the Brat, legit Blitzkrieg Bop. Absolutely insane. I got Regina Spektor's second album, Begin to Hope, which is absolutely amazing. I got the RZA as Bobby Digital in stereo, which is a 2 LP Record Store Day exclusive. I got a live collection of Husker Du tracks, and something that I've never seen in the wild, but isn't like a Record Store Day exclusive. It's just rare. Outcasts, The Love Below, and Speaker Box, which is a banger. So I was super stoked. It was great to have a boys' day and just like go to all these different stores. It was great to like check out a bunch of different record stores I've never been to before. And it was great to have such an awesome haul to take home. So
that's
super badass.
It is an impressive lineup, to be sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. I guess I'll go ahead and go next on mine, which is just some small stuff. Every once in a while, we come in here and talk about like real life goals or stuff like that. And, you know, I over the last couple of weeks have been trying to really make a concerted effort to like give a shit about my body because I have not typically been very good at that. So I started the probably most appropriate place I could, which is with Ring Fit. Kind of going back to that, I forgot that that's actually a lot more challenging than I remember it being.
Oh, yeah.
Rules.
Yeah.
Dude, it burns.
It you definitely burns. Yeah, I'm feeling it. But anyways, trying to make an effort to do that. And I'm at the point now where it's starting to feel really good. I don't just feel like death when I wake up every morning, which is great. I'm sleeping better. Like just a number of things. I've talked on the pod a number of times about how I'm like the world's worst sleeper. But it's getting better now, which is great. And kind of one of the other things that like I've rediscovered and had a mental block on for the longest time, and I don't know why, because everybody in our Discord has been talking about it for the longest time, is I've rediscovered Marvel Snap. I definitely was playing it day one and then put it down and then picked it back up. And I think I've gained 50 collection levels in the last 24 hours.
Nice.
That game fucks. It is very good. I'm typically not smart enough to play those games. Like Dale a number of times has been like, hey, let me teach you how to play Storybook Brawl, or like I'm open to the idea, and I'm like, I can't. I'm no brain, Brody, no brain, no. But like that is just easy enough, and it's like it lasts 6 turns. The matches last like 3 minutes. It's not a big deal. It's the super low stakes. That was part of it too. Is that like I was so worried about like, oh, how do you interact with people online? But like honestly, I just got over myself and started playing it, and I am having trouble stopping. So between rounds of playing slots on my phones now.
Oh my God.
I'm playing Marvel stuff. Yes, I'm still doing it. I'm like level almost 1100 in Jackpot World now.
Oh my God. I thought you would like replace like the slots with Marvel Snap, but you're just adding on to the addiction.
Oh yeah. No, we're mainlining it. So
just to loop back to fitness-based video games, if you have a Quest VR headset, this has been said a billion times on the internet, but Beat Saber will make you hurt. Like it is, because you're just like you're really just swinging your arms, but for whatever reason, it is an absolute workout. I think part of it is like the high octane music going with it, so you just keep moving.
Oh, for sure.
Even when nothing's happening, and it's like, and you get way too into it, or at least I do, because I'm weird like that. But just that's also a thing if you're looking to get fit, but also be a dork.
Right on. Another one too that I experienced for a little bit was Bullets Per Minute. Was another one that I played that was God, this is a lot of moving around, but like also a very cool take on the like kind of shooting gallery type on rails shooter that will make you move a lot. So, but yeah, great call out on that one, Aaron. Sorry, oops.
I'm
gonna do it all episode.
I'm very used to not being called by the right name. In the youth group of the church that I used to attend, RIP, that part of my life, there was the pastor's son was named Aaron. So it was decided by committee vote that I could not be Aaron anymore because we already had one, and that was just confusing.
Sure.
Seems very Christian, yes.
Yeah.
So
there could only be one.
So there is a period of my life where I was referred to exclusively as Jack, which is not any part of my name. That's just kind of what we came up with. Did not go with my middle name, just decided Jack. That sounds fun. There are people in my life who are dear friends of mine who, if you refer to me as Aaron, it takes them a second to know they're talking about Jack.
I am so sorry to hear that. That is
your
terrible.
middle name obscene? Like what happened here?
It's Daniel, and I guess Dan just wasn't fun enough to say. So
he's in fuck you territory here.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah, all right. That makes sense. Yeah, I get it. I understand why you wouldn't go by that. Jack, it is. All right. Great. Mel, what is your highlight of the week? Is it also a minor thing like Brody's? It sounds like it probably is.
It was not a minor thing. Last weekend, I got to go to Toronto, Canada, which was a really nice experience, like with my parents and my in-laws. And we got to like explore all the different like neighborhoods in Toronto, eat a lot of really great food. Like we went to one restaurant that was like an all-you-can-eat Japanese like barbecue place where they would give you a whole bunch of like raw meat. There's like a grill in front of you and you would just like grill meat. And it was so freaking good. My favorite part of that was eating the pineapple, which is like so weird to say, but they like cut up fresh pineapple and you got to put it on the grill and it was like super, super good because like all of like the pineapple sugar like caramelized and it just was that's
grilled pineapple slaps so hard.
Right? Grilled fruit is S tier.
Yes, I agree. But then after Toronto, we ended up traveling to Niagara Falls, which my in-laws like haven't been in like 20, 30 years. So they were like so just so excited to be there again. And we took like a boat to go like towards like the Horseshoe Falls that was there. And like the power of the falls is like absolutely phenomenal. Like there was like a whole bunch of mist. Like I barely could hear myself because of just like the water just crashing into each other. It was phenomenal. If you guys haven't been to Niagara Falls, like one day you should go. It is amazing.
Yeah.
Nice.
Did they let you get in the barrel?
No, I wish. That would be fun. Man. I've heard a lot of people survived.
Did you do it from the Canadian side, the US side, or both?
Just the Canadian side. The Canadian side's a lot better.
Yeah, it is definitely the better of the two sides. So that's awesome.
By the way, what's the drive like to Toronto nowadays? It was like 3-4 hours?
Like 3.5 when we went like in the morning and like the border was like really easy to get through, which was surprising because like sometimes it could take like an hour depending on traffic just to get between like US and Canada, but like it wasn't bad at all. They have a lot of
Nice.
like rest stops on the way, so it made it a really nice trip.
Very cool.
That's awesome. So you mentioned like all of the mist, and you mentioned the sounds of Niagara. Like, was there anything else that was a highlight of just being there, being in this like wonder of the world?
Yeah, it was just being out in nature, and the weather was great. It was just, yeah, wonderful.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, I mean, we've all been there. Like, if you close your eyes and you can imagine, like, you know, the sound of the rushing water, or maybe you've been in a forest and it's like you can hear the leaves rustling and the birds chirping and the insects also chirping. It's weird that we use the same word for two different genuses of animals. And then, you know, suddenly, you know, you think about it, and boom, suddenly Discord notification, because you're actually playing a video game that's based in nature instead of being there in real life. That's right. This week, the least outdoorsy people that you know are donning their hiking gear, heading out into the great outdoors, but staying indoors in front of a screen where the outdoors are created via a collection of pixels.
Hey, Dale, real quick. Do you see this? Do you know what this is?
That's a blue shell.
Yeah, it's coming for you because you're number one in transitions.
Woo!
So April is Earth Month. Today, in addition to today being Record Store Day, it is also Earth Day. And so we figured that this would be an awesome opportunity to take a look at games that focus on nature. So without further ado, we're just going to throw on some bug spray, a little bit of sunscreen. We're going to hit the trails with our first question. What is your relationship with nature, like IRL nature? Do you hike? Are you a basement dwelling kobold? Is there balance in your force? Like, where are you at?
Does your skin touch the sun at any point?
Mel, the fact that you said skin touch the sun and not the sun touch the skin might be letting on a little bit about where you are. Where are you with this?
That's a really great question. I don't know where I'm at with this. I'm mostly inside because that's where I work and that's where I play video games. And I probably only go outside to like go fishing every once in a while and like go take walks with my dog. But like I'm so particular when it comes to the weather. Like anything below 70 degrees is too cold. Anything warmer than like 82 degrees is like too hot. Like I have to be in like the perfect temperature in order for me to be like, yeah, I want to be outside. So
You've
most
got
of the time,
a 12-degree outside range.
yeah, it's awful. It's so awful. Otherwise, I just start sweating, and it's just not even a great time. So most of the time, I'm just indoors, and that's fine.
It is. It's totally like we asked this question without any hint of judgment. I do not go outside at all ever if I can help it, because that's where the bears are. Nobody's ever been eaten by a bear in their house. I'm kidding. I actually love being outside. My temperature range is much wider than yours, Mel. It's like mid 50s all the way up to like 90-ish. And I'll be happy being outside. I love a warm rain. I think that's great. Two of my favorite activities are riding my bike and skateboarding. And those both require being outside. And also I am married to a mermaid. She is a true river person. So the other day she was like, oh, it's 80. We should go swimming at Belle Isle. And I looked up the temperature and the water temperature, because it was like one day of 80. It was like 60 the day before. The water temperature was 52 degrees.
That's
and
too
she was
cold.
like, that's fine. And I was like, you're a goblin. You're a river goblin. So
52 degrees water temp is cold as shit.
It's very
Yes.
cold.
So fucking cold.
Yes, exactly. So I love being outside when I can. The problem is most of my favorite activities are indoor activities.
Yeah.
Like the sun is too bright for me to play on my phone or Switch outside. And so I have to do that from inside or in a hammock with the thing over my face. And then you get a weird sunburn on your face. And I don't need that either.
That would be kind of an amazing sunburn, though. You get 2 lines from holding your
Right
Switch
there.
up. That'd be amazing. Like I always thought that the Apple Watch tan was super obnoxious. That's pretty bad too. But well, I'll go ahead and go next because I'm
You just
also
made me super conscious, and I had to check to see if I have it yet. And the answer is yes, I do. I do have it.
Sorry, did I say super obnoxious? I mean super great. You're awesome, Dale. We love you. So Actually, so on the note about Ange, I'm also like a bona fide Lakeosaurus. Like if I could breathe underwater, I would never come on shore. Like I love being in lakes. I love swimming. Like I've always loved that kind of stuff. But that being said, I also really enjoy riding my bike, although I don't do it as much as maybe I would want. But aside from that, yeah, I don't get much time outside, which is funny because my wife is like super, super outdoorsy. So she's currently preparing for a 26-mile hike that she's going on in a couple of, yeah, she did it last year too.
Is this a punishment?
I maybe some sort of existential punishment. There are times that I wonder that, but, no, she absolutely loves everything outside. She's worked for like the DNR previously and camps and stuff like that. She would just spend all her time outside if that's up to her. Now she's actually playing Assassin's Creed on the other side of the room from me right now. But when she's not doing stuff like that, man, she's just outside. But yeah, I could get outside a little more. I don't.
I love
You
that
didn't
for
have
her.
to call Mare out for playing. Like it's an audio medium. They wouldn't have known.
No, I mean, she's having a good time. She rarely does this stuff, so she earned it,
Fair enough.
She earned it.
Yeah.
I love Mare.
She's the best. What about you, Aaron?
I'm solidly an inside person.
Indoor people.
As a kid, my parents took me camping all of the time. In fact, they have pictures of me. I don't remember this because I was too young, but they have pictures of me camping like in a tent or something on the side of a glacier or something.
Okay.
Like
What?
because we were
That's wild.
Army brat dad. We were stationed, I think, in Germany, and we like went to Sweden or something. I don't remember the details. Again, I was there physically, but not mentally. But I mean, I remember growing up and going camping all the time. My parents constantly taking us to my grandfather's lake. He had a fish pond more than a lake. And most of my memories are of complaining about the heat and the bugs.
I feel that.
That tracks, yeah.
Yep.
Until they let me go inside. There was a trailer on the property. It didn't have like electricity, so there was no air conditioning, but it was inside technically, so that was enough for me.
Nice.
I will say I have my son joined Scouts a little under a year ago, and we've gone camping twice with them, and I don't hate it as much as I thought I would, but like we spent all this time developing air conditioning. It seems rude to not stay inside.
100% agreed.
That makes a lot of sense to me. And there's something. Oh, go ahead, Mike.
No, you first.
I was going to say there's something about when camping is like a social activity and it's like a whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
Than when it's just like you and the people you spend your time in a house with. And then you just move all of the people who would be in that house to a less comfortable space.
And
right?
a much smaller space.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah.
Literally on top of each other. Like,
Right.
Yep.
And on top of it too, like I feel like camping has evolved so much since like when we were kids that they have like crazy new gadgets to make camping like way more enjoyable. Like I've seen like really interesting stoves that like produces a lot less smoke. I've seen like tents that have like 5 or 6 bedrooms in it. It's just like wild. I remember like hearing stories like from, other people who have gone camping being like, it took us like 4 hours to build a whole entire tent. I'll be like, fuck that. That sounds terrible.
Seriously.
I was in a like sporting goods section a while back and I saw an inflatable toilet that you could take camping. And that sounds like a great idea, but I would inflate it once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, the times that we have gone camping with Scouts, they have restroom buildings.
Oh,
with,
that's nice.
Like, there's plumbing. You can charge your phone in there. If I will not ever. I will not ever use a balloon.
You're not going to shit into a balloon, Aaron? What's your problem? Hoity-toity Aaron, not shitting into balloons.
I'm going to go ahead and say this now. Put it on the record.
All right, let's switch gears a little bit. You guys ever see that meme of the shark just getting rotated? We're gonna rotate over into games.
Rotated, idiot.
Yeah, exactly. What is your favorite game that centers around the outdoors or nature, and what do you think makes it so good? And I'm gonna start here because I think mine is maybe a controversial pick, but I'm gonna say that Returnal gets my nod here because the environments are so lush and gorgeous. The world around you evolves as the game progresses. And so much of like the world also functions as part of the antagonist in that game. And so I think I think it qualifies, but I'm not 100% sure it qualifies, but I think it qualifies. Do you guys have opinions about this?
I have questions. Are you in a cave? Or are you in an outdoor area where you can see the sky?
Yes.
Both? Yeah.
Sometimes you're in a cave. Sometimes you're in a cave. Sometimes you can see the sky. Sometimes you're in like a desert area. Sometimes you're in like a frozen tundra area. Sometimes the world is lush and vibrant, and sometimes the world is very not lush and vibrant. And I don't want to spoil anything else for somebody who hasn't played Returnal, but there's also some other crazy shit that happens in the game that might cause you to go places that Brody would like to go, for instance.
Okay. Well, actually, speaking of places that Brody would want to go, I'm going to go ahead and go next because I also feel like mine is going to be a big time edge case here.
Okay.
I'm going to straight up say Breath of the Wild. And I think the reason I'm going to say that is because the way I played that game specifically, I've talked about it a number of times on the pod, but I'm going to do it again, is that I didn't take my horse. I just walked everywhere and I just experienced organically whatever was around me. And part of that is that you do feel at times like, you know, you can almost feel, especially with like the beautiful piano audio cues and stuff, like you can almost feel like the wind going through your hair, or like I'm saying that as somebody who doesn't have any hair, but like you can actually feel like you're in the world of the game. It's super immersive beyond like to a point of respect for the game environment itself. And so like, I feel like I've connected more with the world of Breath of the Wild, even though it's not technically like a nature game. Because I feel like they have Nintendo just had so much respect for creating it that it almost is a nature game to me.
Yeah, I appreciate so much you presenting empirical proof that horses are dumb, by the way. So
I know. Oh, the war against horses continues. No, I will say that just like, I mean, I'll say this, that having played Elden Ring, I now use horses because like Elden Ring did a better job of filling their open world with stuff to do. But like the first time I played Breath of the Wild, I'm like, all I want to do is see what's around the corner or up on this rock or like under this thing. And that's all I wanted to do.
And it's now one Korok seed.
Yeah, tell me about it. But now that I played Elden Ring, which is like literally shit everywhere, I'm like, okay, I'll actually use the horse this time around. We'll do it.
Yeah.
Man.
Aaron, what do you? Oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah, Aaron can go next. No. He should. Our guest should go next.
This is this feels like the obligatory answer here, but Minecraft is the outdoor game. You know, you can play the game a number of different ways. You can, like, if you look at the achievement statistics for Minecraft, there is a like significant portion of the people who've played Minecraft on an Xbox who have 0 achievements. Keeping in mind, one of the achievements is literally to open your inventory. So it's impossible to not get achievements in Minecraft unless you're only playing in creative. Like 40% of people just played in creative. But there is a way to play the game where you are just wandering around in the world and seeing what the world gen has kicked up. Especially in the past few years, the past couple updates, they've really focused on having the world just be more interesting to be in, even if it doesn't necessarily have mechanical ramifications. There is, I mean, I've been playing Minecraft since it came out on the Xbox 360, which was before my children were born, however long ago that was, you can say. And there's just nothing like that feeling of running out of a forest and not knowing what's going to be on the other side of it. It could be just an endless horizon of these giant glaciers spotted through the water, or a field of flowers in every shape and color, or a cave that just seems to go down and down forever, spotted only with little flecks of light from the bioluminescent plants that grow on the cave walls, and the mouth of it just these jaggy stalactites like so many teeth. It is so cool. And then you see this giant tree on the side of a mountain with a lava waterfall, and you're like, oh, it's you get to shape that world in whatever way you see fit. So you're like, I can totally put a bitchin' tree house in that tree, and then it gets burned down by the lava waterfall, because that's just how the game works. It's all about, similar to Breath of the Wild, it's all about how these different elements interact with each other. But just that ability to never know what is going to be the next thing you see. Is it a desert for 3 days of travel, or is it a jungle immediately followed by an ocean, immediately followed by mushroom islands? Who's to say? But no other game I've played has ever captured that feeling of exploration and discovery quite like Minecraft does.
Because Minecraft has, like, when you're talking about like world generation, like no two worlds are essentially the same. So it could literally be like different environments right next to each other. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's everything is, it's everything's generated randomly as you get to it. So if you have an old world and then your version of Minecraft updates, the parts that you haven't been to yet will now generate with the new parts. It truly is on the fly as you get to it. That's when stuff is created. I
did not realize that. I thought the worlds were built as you seeded them. That's crazy.
No, right.
Yeah. It only generates new sections of the world as you encounter them, to in the horizon where you could see them. And yes, sometimes it is janky, and a lot of times it doesn't make sense. You get a lot of like floating islands or impossible structures, but that just adds to it. Like it feels familiar, but also completely different, because it is, it's rolling hills, it's mountains, it's trees. You understand all of these things. There's foxes, there's all sorts of little guys running around.
There's pigs you can ride.
Exactly. But at the same time, it is there's nothing like it to me.
Cool. You've certainly sold me on going back and giving it another shot, because that sounds awesome the way you described it.
You did make playing blocks sound very engaging.
I mean, it is. Absolutely. Like, I'm not going to, I am a Minecraft apologist, but I will own up. It is just different. There's green blocks and there's brown ones, and also there's gray ones, and sometimes there's blue ones, and the blue ones are really good.
True. Nice. I also love like the ray tracing that they did with Minecraft too, because it just makes the whole entire environment look, yes, it's still blocks, but it just looks like better blocks, like a lot better blocks.
Real good blocks.
Real good blocks.
All blue now.
If you have a beefy rig, you can absolutely make the game look stunningly gorgeous.
Yeah, I know there's like some mods out there too that kind of like helps with the textures as well, to like really give that, to make it even feel more like outdoorsy and naturey without like the whole like pixelated like texture. Definitely worthwhile to check out.
Yeah, cool. Mel, what's your answer here?
So my answer is Firewatch. And I love this game because it is short and sweet, and because you're playing a forest ranger that literally just talks to a woman on a radio while you're just exploring and hiking and investigating things. It is just a really great story, and like there are some parts of the game that like gives you a little bit of suspense, because you're like looking through a park, there could just be like weird things that are happening at campsites, and you're trying to like hunt down a trail, but it's just such a good game. Like I feel like the narrative of that whole entire game is just very, very special. And like understanding the relationship between like your character versus the one that you're chatting with, I think her name is Delilah. It's just a very cool interaction. And you never get to see her face. Spoilers, but this game has been out for forever. But like you don't get to see her face, and it makes me so mad.
Game's great though. Game's very good.
It's so good.
Yeah. So all of the games that we talked about were like exploration through like forests and plains and that sort of thing. But is that always the case with outdoorsy games? Like, I think scuba diving classifies, but what about sports games like golf? Like, what makes a game outdoorsy to you?
Yeah, I think this is where it
outdoors.
gets really tricky, right? But I think that like I like where your head was at, Dale, when you were talking about Returnal, because I think that like if you think about an outdoorsy game as any game that like really makes all the environment almost one of the main characters or like super integral to the experience, I think that should qualify. Like I think I threw golf in here just because I thought it was really interesting. Like I don't know really where this sits. It probably has to make it, I guess, but
For
like
sure.
you know, even though this is more about the competition and the people actually playing the sport, right? Although there are some golf courses that are, anyways, never mind. I can go really deep down the rabbit hole here, but I really appreciate where your head was at, Dale, and I do think that like we can leave a pretty wide range of interpretation so that we can celebrate like games that are outdoorsy and alien landscapes and stuff. I think that should be allowed.
Sure. Okay, let me throw out this game and you tell me whether or not it's outdoorsy, because Josh and I were talking about this because I was like, "Oh, we're having a podcast recording today." He goes, "What about No Man's Sky? Is that an outdoorsy game?" And then I'm like, "Well, you are seeing like environmentals and like you are exploring different planets and like their creatures and stuff, but I wouldn't consider it an outdoorsy game because it's now space exploration."
Hard disagree. I think that the key component of an outdoorsy game, like you were saying, Brody, is making the world a character. Like to your point in Breath of the Wild, I mean, the main thrust of that game, of the marketing, was you see the mountain, you can go climb the mountain because the world exists and you are just in it. Versus, I don't think a sports game counts because the world is just the texture applied to the flat plane on which you exist, versus it being something that has its own, not necessarily agenda, but it does things on its own outside of what you are imposing on its will.
I agree with you 95% of the way, with the one exception, I think, actually being golf, right? Because with golf specifically, nature is the antagonist, right? Like if you are just playing, it's like, can you get 3 on this? No, you are not as good as Earth. Yes, you are better than Earth, right? Like that's where it comes from.
Well, Dale, what about like Riders Republic?
What about
I just
Riders
thought about
Republic?
that. Because I mean,
every Riders Republic thing is a race, right? But you can play golf solo.
Okay.
Riders Republic, time trial though, like time trials, like because it's just you.
You're playing against a ghost, right? You're playing against a ghost when it's a time trial. There's never a point in Riders Republic where it's like, can you reach the finish line? Reaching the finish line is assumed there. So that's where I draw that line. You can make the argument that a time trial is similar to golf, right? In that it's an arbitrary thing that's put there. But at the same time, nobody's like setting the time trial based first on like, oh, I built this ramp that goes up and then there's this sharp turn. It's like the time trial is like who did it the fastest, right? So that's kind of where it changes in my mind. But I could definitely see making the argument the other way.
Fair.
I'll allow it.
Cool. Let's move on to mechanics. What outdoorsy mechanics do we think are handled really well in games? Are there any that are handled really poorly?
So this is one of those things where, again, like I think that it's really easy to fall into kind of traditional, like, especially like us being from the vast majority of us, not obviously, Aaron, I'm not going to speak for you here, but from being from Michigan, it's like really easy to just think of like outdoorsy stuff as like trees, right? So I like the one thing that I tried to think about was camping as a mechanic, because normally every game that features some sort of camping or like meditating or sleeping outdoors or something is just literally like time passes. There's not really much that happens. Don't starve, you wake up and you're like dehydrated or something, right? But like I felt like the game that actually did that mechanic, which tends to be handled really poorly the best, might be something like Final Fantasy 15, which kind of centers around like the camaraderie and just like bullshitting with your friends around the campfire and like, you know, like having a couple drinks and stuff. Like that was always fun. And what's his name? Prompto cooks for you and stuff like
Lance
that.
Bass
Ignis,
does
sorry,
all the
Ignis.
cooking. It's great.
Yeah, Lance Bass. But like I actually really enjoyed the way that they handled that, aside from the like gratuitous Coleman product placement stuff. And then like I think the stuff that's just natively handled really well. And it's and I actually full disclosure, Aaron, I saw that later on the outline you had done a call out for the Hunter Call of the Wild, which I also am a big fan of. And I think that like the way that games like that handle kind of the bullet physics and stuff on hunting, I think is like they have to handle it really well. Like the game is so integral, like built around that on hunting games that like you got to kind of do something like that. So I'll give a call out for that.
Does it like use wind and gravity to like help to like slow down the bullets or like change the trajectory?
I think there's probably a little bit of that, although I think the game is like a little skewed in terms of the casual when it comes to the actual like bullet physics. It's more like sorry, not bullet physics, but like bullet physics is what I meant to say, but like the actual like penetration through the animal. Like
Gotcha.
I'm trying not to be gross about this, but like the way that they show the organs and stuff like that, they always give you like an X-ray of the animal when you pick it up. That's like, oh, you did this and this and this,
like in Mortal Kombat.
Kind of, yeah.
But against defenseless animals, I love it.
Just punch a buffalo to death. Yeah.
So it's basically Sniper Elite.
There you go. Yes.
Where it also matters exactly where you hit the thing that you shot.
Sniper Elite against things that are not naturally threats.
Oh my gosh.
And you have to feel bad about it afterwards.
Like a mechanic that pops up in so many video games, even when there is absolutely no place for it. Fishing in video games.
Yeah.
My favorite.
And
Get
specifically
Yep.
fishing in video games that are not fishing video games.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
But everything from the previously mentioned Minecraft to Stardew Valley to what's the games about the robots?
There's a lot of-
Yokotaro. Oh God.
Yeah, sorry, Nier Automata.
Yes,
Yeah.
there's fishing in Nier Automata.
Yeah, I know.
That I'm like, I have read internet theories. I am 80% convinced it really is just a troll against former Polygon writer Justin McElroy, because he was making fun of how it didn't have fishing. But like the mechanics of fishing in video games is so wildly varied, and sometimes it is just like press A.
Yeah.
And then you have stuff like Dredge, where it's more interactive.
Yeah.
You have to you've got like a bar moving around in a circle, and you have to hit it in its highlight points, similar to how it works in the game that I just mentioned.
Nier Automata.
I know it's like
The
it in Dead
farming
by
game.
Daylight.
Oh,
Farming game.
Stardew Valley.
Sorry,
I'm sorry. Did
I've
you say
got-
there's fishing in Dead by Daylight?
Like the whole mechanic of like doing the generators, like when you have to hit it in a certain spot. That's the same mechanic that's in Dredge.
Yeah. I do think
Dredge.
it's insane that there's fishing in games that should not have it. Why is there
Yeah,
fishing
it's
in
just-
Fortnite?
and
Wobbly
it's
life.
always different. Everyone wants to bring their own take to a fishing minigame, and it's like you could just not do it though. You could just you just do literally anything else in this game about robots discovering what it means to be a person.
Or like in
Yeah.
Hades, right? Like where Hades is just like, oh, there's a little thing
It's the other
here,
one,
just
yes.
fish, and then you pick up something. What the fuck does the fish do for me?
Oh,
It
you
makes
sell them
me
to
happy.
the cook in the kitchen. You have to unlock that. Sorry, this became
with a
very
fish.
serious Hades talk. You sell the fish to the guy, and then he rewards you with the components that you
But
need
you
to
could
build
do
further
something
upgrades.
else than fish.
They could just, instead of fishing points, they could put a chest with the components there, right?
Right.
Like it would
Kill the
not,
boss.
you could very easily remove fishing completely from Hades and it would have zero impact.
False, because when you're on the time trials, that counts against you if you stop and look to go fishing. So you have to, it does add a very slight element to it, where as you are madly dashing around the level, in addition to scanning your periphery for the guys that are trying to kill you, you are also looking to see if you see that little glint off of the edge, especially when you get to the lava parts of it. It's much harder to see. That added, I failed so many runs because I had to stop and fish every time once I got to the time trials.
So the game literally the game
me.
told you not to fish, and you were like, "No, I've got to fish.
I gotta finish upgrading the. I gotta make hell all nice and
Aaron, I'm with you on this. You gotta fish.
You're both maniacs. I'm gonna say that the most outdoorsy mechanic that I've seen is picking up materials for crafting. It's got to be number one on the list, right? Every game has it, and I think it's been pretty well perfected at this point for most games. Most games do it well. I'll let Mel talk about the games that don't. I want to talk about the fact that I think traps are usually handled badly inside games because they're oftentimes so fiddly. It's like, oh, it has to be pointed in this direction, but you can only rotate it on the 8 cardinal directions. And so if they walk in from a different angle, the trap doesn't work. And then they explode the trap. And it's like, fuck this. All of this sucks, man. Just like make a pit and let the thing fall in it. And then I can shoot it or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, why do traps have to be so complex? Fucking figure it out.
Monster Hunter did it right.
And wrong also. Monster Hunter did it right and also wrong.
It's so hard to put down traps in Monster Hunter, man. Like,
Really?
I can't tell you how many times I put down a trap, and then the fucking monster turns around and runs the other direction.
Fair enough.
I can't lure them into the trap. They just kind of like move on their own. Anyways.
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous.
The one mechanic that I want to talk about is I have a very love-hate relationship with is harvesting herbs in any video game, right? Because like a lot of times you see an herb and you're like, let me just, click A or E on the keyboard to like, pick up this item. But then I find myself just spamming A or spamming E throughout the whole entire environment because I just want to pick up everything. But then there are some flowers that are like, yeah, you can pick me up. I'm an herb versus that's not an herb. That's just part of my environment. Like pick one or the other. Like they're all going to be it or they're not going to be it at all.
I felt that way about The Witcher 3.
Yeah, I agree. I think Elden Ring does this pretty well though.
Yep.
Skyrim had a problem where there are like 3 kinds of mushrooms, 2 of which you can pick, 1 you can't, and the one you can't looks exactly like the one you can.
Yes.
Or sometimes you'll harvest it, but it doesn't completely remove that feature
all of it. Yep.
from the world. So then you come by later before it's had time to like respawn, and you're like, oh, mushrooms. And you run up to the log, and the game's like, there's no mushrooms here. What are you talking about?
It's not a single
it's
mushroom.
gaslighting me into thinking I can harvest these.
I love
Grinds my gears, man.
Really grinds my gears. Love
All
it.
right, so we're in a golden age of video games where there's creative ideas everywhere. Indie games can be found on all sorts of platforms, your phone, in your mind, maybe. I don't know. I'm not here to judge. What is the most creative take that we've seen on a nature outdoor game in a world where it's maybe a bit too easy to make survival games with that theme? What makes those games stand out to you?
So I'll try and go quick here. So the 2 that I picked out were Abzu, which is a giant squid game. And it very much takes like the thing that was established in Journey, kind of the path that was established of just like you're walking from one point to another, but made it this narrative about like a post kind of human Earth or world. And I thought it was really beautiful. It was really poignant. It was very cool. And then the other ones are just going to be a shout out to the Ori games, which I think really like did an interesting job of environmental storytelling in a Metroidvania setting, which I think is very tough to do while still very much respecting the environment. So shout out to the Ori games.
They're very good. One that just came out recently that had a lot of attention when it released that has kind of fizzled for, I think, fair reasons, is Terra Nil, which is a kind of a reverse city builder, where instead of taking a raw landscape and turning it into cities and factories and harvesting its raw resources for your own gain and profit, you are reclaiming the world back to nature. So you have this absolutely barren, racked landscape, and You use windmills to generate power that you use to you have these watering machines that regrow the dirt. You have machines that pull moisture from the atmosphere and refill rivers. You can regrow trees. And the one interesting thing it does is you have basically you have a progress meter in the corner. You're trying to fill it up in order to complete the level. And you have to balance the three things that are in there. So sometimes you have to actively make it worse in order to improve it in other ways. So you have to have a certain amount of fresh water in the environment. And a lot of the early levels especially have dry riverbeds. So all you have to do is place your water making machine in the riverbed. It'll fill the river, and you do that enough times, you'll hit the water quota. And sometimes there are none. So you have other machines that will carve swaths into the landscape and create riverbeds for the water to exist in. But when you do that, those machines, because they're destroying the environment, they poison the ground around it. So you have to balance how much restoration you're doing against the amount of devastation that you're having to create in order to balance that ecosystem properly. Because if it was just grass and no water, that's not going to last very long. You're trying to create a sustainable environment. It's a cool game. It has some neat ideas. I think you see most of those ideas within the first hour or two, and then the game is just kind of those ideas repeated and played out a little differently.
Yeah, makes sense.
But
I have a question about this, because it sounds like when you start, is it like there's abandoned machinery and buildings and like that sort of shit, or is it just like barren wasteland? Is it more reclaiming, or is it more terraforming?
It's really more terraforming. It is just kind of barren landscape. There's no like abandoned factory buildings that you have to tear down, at least not as far as I played. That may come up later. It is just you have it really is more terraforming than anything else.
Cool.
But like I said, it's a cool idea. And if you have a Netflix account, like most people do, except for some people on this podcast are too good to have a Netflix account, you can download it on your phone or tablet and play it through Netflix for free. So it's worth checking out at least.
Hell yeah.
Well, I'd like to go next, but I don't know if my game really counts as an outdoors game, but Horizon Zero Dawn. Like, I think it's so interesting to see how there used to be a very advanced civilization that ended up getting totally kind of just, I don't know the best way to describe this, but just it destroyed itself essentially, right? Mm-hmm. And everything that they did, they like ended up having a whole bunch of like computers that wanted to become animals and somehow try to replant all of their plants and I'm losing my shit right now, but like it was just it's so hard to like talk about like Horizon Zero Dawn, but like it's because it's just like a fascinating game because they just essentially built a computer to just reestablish the environment and try to bring back the world. And it's really interesting to see how like a lot of their technology incorporated into the actual world itself. God, it took me fucking forever to get there.
Don't worry about it.
And honestly, like when we were talking about, was it nature reclaiming or was it terraforming with Terra Nil? Horizon Zero Dawn was the thing that came to mind around like, I love seeing nature reclaiming like old abandoned buildings, like in real life. Right. Or like, that sort of aesthetic, and Horizon Zero Dawn hits that aesthetic on the head. Right. It's like nails it. So great call.
Want me to also talk about Lawnmower Simulator and how that game is amazing and like why did it take so long for somebody to make this game when literally all you do is go to different very beautiful places and then mowing their lawns? Like, why is that game so peaceful?
I don't know. It is. I think the reason, like, think about the pitch meeting for that. It's like, lawn mowing simulator, and everyone just goes like pass. Like it
Right.
sounds dumb as hell, right? But it's not.
It's
It's
actually
not.
pretty cool. You get to
Yeah.
upgrade your lawnmowers to like mow the lawns a lot faster, and you can put in beautiful. Like I think Clay and I decided that when we did our playthrough, we were like, let's put a penis here.
Of course.
In the front
Of
of,
course.
this castle.
It's like IRL, yeah. Speaking of games that sound dumb as hell, I went with The Pathless.
That game's awesome.
It is awesome, but the pitch is just like speedrun nature. And that sounds insane, but it works. It's so good.
Speedrun nature.
Uh-huh.
I think that's also from the same people that did Abzu, if I remember correctly. Giant Squid
Yeah, I
did
think
both.
so.
It is because I'm looking it up because it sounds cool.
That's
Yeah.
a very cool game. And
It's
you go very
cool.
fast. You got to go fast.
Yeah. So it is impossible to talk about nature without talking about how man has ruined it. And we're going to discuss the myth of climate change. It is both a hot take and it is a thing that Brody is making me read here. Have we played any
love you too.
games? Have we played any games that attempt to take a look at climate change?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go quick here. The one that jumped to mind immediately was Flower. That was probably the first one that was the most kind of poignant statement about that. So I think, that game company does such a good job of visual storytelling, and that obviously went in that direction, and they did a great job of doing that as well. So mine will be Flower.
I had to look this up. You take control of the wind.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, it's great.
Interesting. I struggled with this question a lot because I was like, climate change, but also like polluting the earth, like kind of goes hand in hand, right? Like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah. So there's one game that's out on it's in early access called Coral Island. You can play this online through, I think, Game Pass right now, where there's like a group of people like on this island that wants to take over the island to build an oil well. And they are talking about like how there's a whole bunch of like just pollutants like in the water, and like as a player you're like going through and like cleaning everything up, and you can tell like the whole like island is like really, really upset that this group of people are coming to just take over their island and just making it look like shit. And then another game, Cities Skyline. I was actually playing this recently, and I forget that like when you build industrial zones, like there's smog that like populates on your map, and if you have residents in the area, like the sky turns like this really gross like orangey yellow color, but the residents also like get sick around you, and I'm like, man, that's like such a weird, like not like super indirect way of indicating that like pollution's bad.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, good call. I want to highlight Beyond Blue, which is a game where you are an undersea scientist who's just like exploring the oceans. And so you actually talk about climate change quite a bit in that game, and it uses footage from Blue Planet 2. So that's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
If you are listening to this the week it comes out, Beyond Blue is also free right now in the Epic Game Store. So you can check it out yourself. And then another previous Epic Game Store free game was Sludge Life, which highlights this from the exact opposite direction of like the earth is already fucked, and like everything has just like a slime covering it. And so if you want to see what happens if you don't follow the advice of Beyond Blue, you play Sludge Life.
Nice.
I have a different game in the show notes, but fuck it, we'll do it live. I'm gonna shout out a board game here, and I'm gonna shout out Spirit Island.
Oh,
Okay.
That's so good.
The theme is so cool.
Phenomenal board game. In Spirit Island, you play the island spirits. It is about an island that has been beset by conquerors who are coming to colonize your island, and in the process, eradicate the natives as you do. And the game is about you are the island, so you play an elemental force reclaiming the island from these invaders, and you maybe you're a rock guy and you cause rock slides that destroy the buildings they're creating. You're a fire guy, you burn the people down, whatever. And one of the best moments of the game for me, I've only played it a couple times because this is a very thinky, this is a very dense, very heavy game. This is not something that you bust out at the end of game night. This is, you have to understand this is what you're coming to play first, because this is going to suck up all your brain power. If you are one of the earth spirits, one of the things that you can do, it's a cooperative game. You are all spirits of the island. You either beat the invaders or they take over and you lose. One of the things you can do as one of the earth spirits is, if you can corral all of the bad guys into one chunk of the island, you can sink, just snap the island in half and sink the half that they're on, and then you win because you've killed all the invaders.
That's wild. I love it.
It's only happened once when I've played, but I was that earth spirit and I was looking at my cards and I looked at the map and I was like, oh, like there was a moment where the table was waiting for me to take my turn, and I set the card down and I was like, I sink the island and they all die.
That's amazing.
Oh yeah.
My favorite thing about Spirit Island is the names of the spirits, though. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the person you're talking about, their name is literally Vital Strength of the Earth. Like, yes, that's the character you play as.
Evocative, native sounding. Like, it is very, very
Stone's Unyielding Defiance.
Yes.
Sharp fangs behind the leaves.
And
surges in sunlight. Sorry, I love them so much.
And we will allow it because there is an iOS version of this game at the very least. I think it's probably on Steam as well, from what I remember.
Really?
So yes.
I need friends to play it then.
It's too thinky for me, man. I'm out. I
love this game.
I don't like it.
It makes me technically correct, which is the best kind of correct.
All right. I was going to shout out Wingspan. So yeah, you did a better one than me.
Nice. All right. So any call outs for other favorite nature-y games? I'm going to go first. I'm going to just drop the mic hard. Oregon Trail, baby.
Okay.
Solid.
Everybody's favorite Everybody Dies simulator.
So good.
I'm gonna go just 3 quick. I'm gonna call out Endless Ocean because of course I have to. I'm gonna call it Astroneer. It's a fun little outer space survival game. Kind of scratches that itch, and I'm really excited to see what Rare does with Everwild, which is the next game that they're working on, a totally new IP that's like focused around nature. So I'm really excited to see what they make of that.
Yeah, Red Dead Redemption 2, because of all of the hunting that you can do in that game, and Kenna Bridge of Spirits.
Also, I've been meaning to play that.
To reinforce my point about space games totally counting, this is a game that I did a little write-up on for the Discord recently because I loved it so much. Everspace 2, it's not an outdoorsy game. You're in outer space. It's Diablo, except you're spaceships instead of a wizard. It's the best game I've ever played. But specifically, in each little map that you're allowed in, there is so much exploration to do, and there's a lot of environmental puzzles. You'll see a receiver for a power source, so now you have to find that power source to get to the receiver, and that turns on a laser. And you see, where's the laser pointing? It's pointing to this hardened ore deposit that you can't blast apart with your ship. And so now you have to fly around and move the debris out of the way in order to let the laser get to the thing. As I'm talking about it, this is totally lame. This sounds nothing like an outdoorsy game. But God, it's so good. Just go play it so they make more of it. That's all. I yield my time.
Thank you for putting that thing in the Discord, because I've also been very much enjoying it. And I'll allow it. I mean, honestly, like it's the environments, like they've really tried to focus on trying to build, like, how hard is it to build a dungeon out of an asteroid field, right? It's tough. It's very tough. Yeah. So like I'll personally allow it. You guys can at me or whatever later.
Might be the first time that anyone has ever yielded their time on the podcast, though. So that's great. That's a pretty silly thing, which means that it's time for a silly question. This week, our question is sponsored by all that yard work that you are putting off. The pine cones, the sticks, the leaves, the raking, the weeding, the whatever it might be. It was just 420, so you probably got all your weeding done. Anyway, you have been programmed as the main character into an actual existing nature game. How has that changed the game? How miserable or happy are you? And I'm going to start because, oh shit, the world is going to die, dog. I was put directly into Animal Crossing, not the new one, like the one on GameCube, and I'm just gonna stay in my house, not pay my debt, play Excitebike on the nest that I have, and the world is just gonna be overrun by weeds and cockroaches and shit.
Oh, all your neighbors are going to move out because they haven't seen you in forever.
What neighbors? I don't even know they exist. Mom keeps sending me soup.
God, I love it. Well, I was talking earlier about how I would love to like live underwater if I could, but there is a slight twist to this. So they did throw me in as the main character in Endless Ocean, but I always did want to be a marine biologist when I was a kid. But like the problem is I've got whatever that fear is that when you don't like swimming in water you can't see the bottom of. I don't like it, and I also don't like having fish around me when I'm swimming. So I'm just having panic attacks, lots of them. So come join me on my anxiety journey through the ocean.
Brody, just real quick side question. You mentioned earlier that if you could breathe underwater, you would never come out. Mm-hmm. Would the ability to breathe underwater?
Very close to shore.
So it's not related to the fact that you're going to drown. It's the fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
So you can breathe underwater, by which you mean you just stand up and then now you're...
Everything's good.
Details.
Okay.
All right. Speaking of water, I got thrown into Raft, the survival floating ship game, and the shark is biting the raft, and I'm like, well, I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do with this shark. I'm gonna try to poke it in the eye, but at the same time, like sharks are fucking terrifying, and everything is getting eaten on my raft, and next thing I know, my ship is getting broken in half, and I'm swimming for my life.
So Mel and I have similar answers here of just anxiety, terror.
Except I'm not afraid of like the unknown of the water. I'm just afraid of getting eaten by a shark.
Fair.
I mean, that's a reasonable fear.
Checks out. On the bright side, we know that you'd mostly be okay because you did just eat some salmon right before this podcast.
True.
So you'd be into the fishing.
I'd be into everything except for the shark.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you didn't like sushi, getting stuck on a raft would be... That'd be
awful.
a rough going.
Yep.
And just in time for my next name change, because I haven't had enough of those in my life, apparently, I am now Steve from Minecraft. Oh. I'm just going to punch so many goddamn trees. Just
punch it.
Hew them into planks with my bare hands.
That's amazing.
Absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Be so buff, dude. Punching trees. Eventually, I hope that you become like One Punch Man and just punch the living crap out of everybody.
Saitama of the forest. I love it.
All right, cool. So anything else that we need to talk about when it comes to nature?
No, we've literally covered 100% of it.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Dan, go touch grass, you piece of garbage. Anyway.
Wow.
Ender, do me a favor. Oh, I'm sorry. Aaron, do me a favor and tell people where you can be found, probably as Enderwolf, but go.
I hang out on the Discord. I'm back to Enderwolf. I was Renderwolf in honor of Jeremy Renner's home renovation show. Back to Enderwolf. And also, if you like the little bit about Spirit Island and you enjoy listening to three cishet white guys with beards talk about board games, and you decide you need another one of those podcasts in your feed, you can find me less regularly than we used to, but we're trying to get back on schedule, over on the Dice Pirates podcast, available where all fine podcasts are sold.
And you guys really should check that out. What the segment that you guys do where you try and guess the game from the reviews is fucking brilliant. I love it. Love it every time.
It's my favorite game.
It's great. You can find me in the Discord as Arborescence, and Discord only pretty much right now.
I'm Melephant. I haven't changed my name in quite a while, but you can find me on Twitch, Twitter, and on the Discord.
I'm a 20-sided ninja everywhere 20-sided ninjas can be found. You can also check out our additional stuff on our website, superokpodcast.com. If you are like, man, I love nature and I want to post pictures of them, we got a Discord that you could do that in. Or if you want to tell us about the adventures that you're going on, or if you want to post pictures of plants that you're growing, nature's cool, man, and we like it.
Send me pictures of your plants, please and thank you.
Put them in the familiars
Sorry,
channel. Plants can be familiars too.
Yes.
Great.
I agree.
Ange got flowers for Earth Day from a muralist who did work for Arts and Scraps, and they are hyper saturated. They look really cool.
That's amazing.
Cool.
I'll have her post them in the Discord later.
Please, thank you.
All right, cool. That's everything I got. Say goodbye, everybody.
Bye,
Goodbye,
y'all.
everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Have a super good day.
Bye.